Welcome to Cybersecurity Where You Are, the Center for Internet Security's podcast. I'm Sean Atkinson, CISO at CIS.
And I'm Tony Sager, Senior Vice President and Chief Evangelist at CIS. Cybersecurity affects us all, whether we're online at home, managing a company, supporting clients, or running a state or local government.
So join us on Wednesdays as we discuss trends and threats, explore security best practices, and interview experts in the industry.
Together, we'll clarify these issues, creating confidence in the connected world.
Hello and welcome to the show Cybersecurity Where You Are. I'm Sean Atkinson, CISO here at the Center for Internet Security, joined by the host with the most, the Hall of Famer, the difference maker, Mr. Tony Sager. Tony, how are you, sir?
Good. Just trying to live up to your intro there, Sean. Thanks.
And we're back for part two with Maureen Kunek, Senior Product Manager here at CIS, and Mr. Brock Boggs, Director of Technology at Cityscape Schools. Brock, you came back. Fantastic for part two. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. You know, when you suggested a part two before, I was like, is this one of those, hey, yeah, let's get together again one day? And then, didn't hear from each other again, trying to be nice. But I was so happy to see another invite come across my inbox. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Maureen, great to have you back as well, supporting the podcast and a very important member because we've got a few stories to go into as well today.
So many stories. Thanks, Sean and Tony, for having us back.
Sure.
I would never miss an opportunity to partner with Brock on any project. So
Great.
I'm glad to be back and talk more about the experiences Brock has had.
So really the part two is because we had many questions. And again, Brock, we had to have you back to really walk us through some of now the implementation. So you took us through a journey in part one. Now we want to start looking at the impact that CIS-CAT Assessor, working with CIS, and you getting your feedback and how you helped us. So can you walk us through maybe a use case where CIS-CAT Assessor made a measurable impact that you'd like to share with the audience?
Absolutely. Well, working with Maureen, figuring out how to use the assessor, what it would look like in our school district. The question I really had for her first was where to start, and she kind of gave me the framework around how the assessor would run, different things we could run through that assessor, different operating systems, and what benchmark you pick when going through that. And so measuring where we were at as a school district, I wanted to make the largest impact with, it's tough to say, not the least amount of effort, but I really did want to see how far we could go with this right out of the gate. Which would be just our general workforce computers throughout the school district for all of our staff members. So that's really where we decided to focus on first. It was my first time getting to use this tool, so I didn't really want to start off with one of our member servers or maybe one of our domain controllers or our more important pieces. I really wanted to get my feet wet, understand what this tool could do. And that's honestly right out of the gate, we started seeing a major impact, just number one, in the revelation knowledge of where we were at as a district. I made sure to run it on my computer first, not that it made that much of a difference between anyone else's, but immediately just having that information in front of you, right away we saw return on that, because then the next question was, okay, well, what do we do about what we just learned?
Exactly. No, so Maureen, what I wanted to, kind of pull on that thread is when we start to see this type of impact, the immediate return, as it were, of the utility of such a tool. I think that has that creates an impression. It also helps us now start to guide those utilizing the tool in a direction of, now where do I go? I've got these results. Okay. We know we need to do something. What should I do next?
Yeah, definitely. So I always recommend, CIS-CAT Pro Assessor is an action tool. So, you're not going to sit around and look at it and think about how you might do it. Just let's get started. Let's run a report. So everything starts with a single report. So, we select the system. So Brock had his system that he wanted to pick, and we ran a report on it, and we got our baseline results. And, if you haven't done any hardening on that system, there are quite a few failures. Out of the box systems don't have a lot of hardening. It's really kind of up to you to establish that and within your environment. So where to start? It is quite overwhelming. So, my recommendation to Brock was just like, okay, don't freak out.
While I was busy freaking
He was
out.
freaking out. But yeah, definitely don't freak out. And so one of the things that we did add into CIS-CAT Pro Assessor quite some time ago was a cross reference to our CIS critical security controls, and for IG1, which is our implementation group one, which is our baseline expectation for general organizational security, overarching risk prevention, if you're trying to follow those. And so we associate those to those configuration results. So that report that Brock ran, and maybe there were 200 failures or something, and for 200 deviations from benchmark best practices. And so our way to focus was to filter that by which one of those recommendations was IG1. And so that kind of brought the list down to a more manageable list. So I want to say around 80 or so recommendations. And that's kind of like where he started off. And I definitely think he learned some things along the way, though, but I'll stop there and let him speak.
Absolutely. So yeah, Maureen is always the calm, cool, and collected. And then, when I saw that, I don't want to exaggerate. It was low 20 percentile. And like I said, I started on my computer. My face was, uh-oh.
Here's the security guy. Oops.
Yeah. Where do I turn my badge in? You know what I mean? Like I failed myself. And we learned a lot. I learned a lot of things along the way. I learned that, it wasn't as bad, number one, as I thought it was. Because when you're running the tool, the first thing we picked up was there were some things I noticed just in the initial report. I was like, well, I thought we were doing that, but it really scans your default domain policy on the machine. So you may have other policies on top of that may address something specifically, but if it's not in that baseline one, it'll come across as a fail, even if you do have that applied somewhere in the chain. So that helped me feel a little bit better. I won't say I grew 80 percentage points. That wasn't there. It was, I might have grown 8 instead of, but I was doing slightly better than I hoped. But really, going off Maureen's advice, I'm fortunate enough to have a network manager that works alongside me. And so whatever I'm in, I drag him along with me. And so I told him, hey, I've got this report. It's all around group policies. Neither one of us have a very extensive background in group policy management, especially when it comes to security hardening. Why don't we just sit down and look at this thing? It's what Maureen said to do, so it has to be okay. So that's exactly what we did. We started with IG1, and I'll never forget, he and I locked ourselves in a conference room. And what we ended up doing is pulling up the PDF report, which has a lot of really great, concise information on everything, and you can sort it by just failures, and you can sort it by IG1. And so we did that. We pulled up our PDF. We pulled up we also took out an Excel spreadsheet also from the same tool. We got the PDF out in the Excel spreadsheet, and we just went line by failures. You're taking 2 guys that don't really know a whole lot of the depth of this, and through that report, that PDF, and just kind of making our notes along each failure in that Excel spreadsheet, within just a few hours, we had gone through the entire IG1, figured out what wasn't really on, why wasn't it on, could we potentially turn it on, and we made our wish list of the things that we thought could bring an immediate value add to our organization, wouldn't break everything right out of the gate, and we had a list of things we were ready to beta for our school district.
That's fantastic. Tony, I just wanted to pull on a thread there. And I think the importance of IG1, where, again, aligning to the controls, so we're operationalizing the controls into this capability, and where IG1 now, instead of all of these being required, getting to that defined point of a maturation journey, and where the implementation groups, again, so successful, allow us to curate a program to get to levels of maturation, but do that in a discrete and a defined way versus, fix everything all at once.
No, and that was the So we think of the controls, right, as a distillation, a much smaller version of things like the NIST control catalog, right, which is just overwhelming. And so, we think of our work as, what are the most important things to do within this giant Sears catalog that you'll never be able to implement anyway. But even that can be overwhelming. And so the idea of IG1, and the 2 and the 3 was to recognize people who are on a journey. This is not a pass fail test, right? This is a journey. And so you need an on ramp. How do I get started? And the other parallel thing, Brock, that I'm really uh, glad to hear your experience, right? I used to use this phrase in some of my talk. The most frequently used but worst defined term in the industry is cyber hygiene. So people say, we need more cyber hygiene. For example, you should wash your hands. You should have better administrative privilege. And examples are nice, but you can't build a campaign or a plan around examples. You have to have something concrete. And so we made a declaration, right, that IG1 was really designed to be, this is our definition of basic hygiene. And we can talk, infinitely about the value and the kinds of attacks it stops, but it's sort of what is the expectation, the baseline, the on-ramp, the starting point. But I want to come back. And so I think that's exactly the spirit. I think you figured that out. But I'm really fascinated by the conversation you have with your network person. So I got to watch this at gigantic scale, right? Defense Department. And what you have there was, there's like armies of people way out there somewhere that run the routers. There's armies of people way over there that run the desktops and run the application servers, right? And they never get to have that discussion because what people don't recognize, and you saw it right away, is the dependency in security. Depends upon the local machine, right? The policy that's pushed, what's happening at the perimeter. And because you didn't try to solve the whole problem at once, you were able to look at it very carefully, early, identify breakage, dependency. Oh, it's not said here, but no panic because it's actually said in the higher order group policy. Yeah. Now what you're identifying now is, because what happens in these giant enterprises, someone makes a change, not recognizing all the ripple effects across the enterprise, right? But you had that conversation, you're able to identify and say, are we okay with that? I don't set it here, but I'm counting on now group policy. So that's a dependency. He saw it and he goes, wow, I better be careful I change that because now all these machines like Brock's are unprotected, right? So I think you really got the spirit of it, and the walking through in that fashion, brought out these are actually pretty heavy security concepts, right? Dependencies, the cascading, all this, and also they're really looking carefully at the results and looking at breakage. And this is what most people never get to, that decision that says, I get it. CIS has a important concept. Here's their explanation of why, but look at this application that we just have to have in the school system, and we can't afford to replace. We can't rewrite it, but we know we have to do something, right? And you have other options. Then you could block certain things. You could virtualize it. You could do some other activities, but it really just sort of brings that right out. It takes you right to the decision point, as opposed to this amorphous, I got to secure my system, whatever that means. Yeah, no, so thank you for walking us through that. I think you caught a lot of big concepts really in a very, and did it in a few hours, which is pretty impressive.
And best laid plans. You would figure, being a smaller shop, the things we put in place, we didn't roll anything out in mass. We really did our due diligence. We've got our beta group that consisted of all sorts of staff members from around the district, because there are going to be things there that say they use the almighty word of it may do this. And I have verified if it says may, it will do this, even if your tests don't show it will. Because we went down the list because we needed a quick win in cybersecurity. That's what I needed that personally. I needed something that we could get our teeth into, make a measurable impact. And when I heard Maureen talk about this tool, I said, okay, so I can run this, review this, test this, and roll this out within a matter of however hard or quickly we want to do this, and we could see measurable impact. That's exactly what my school district needs. So that's exactly what we did. We went through the list, we went through IG1, and then call us crazy, but we were like, okay, wow, that wasn't so bad. And what was nice about starting there, coming from an area that this is not my expertise, I realized this wasn't so bad. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, I wonder what the rest of the failures outside of IG1 are. Do you want to schedule some time later this week and look at it? And he was like, yeah, sure, this wasn't too bad. And so we did. We actually went through everything, and it was like, okay, we can do this. Let's get our list going. Let's pick the things out, the things we're going to test, that the document said, hey, it may break this, or this may not work anymore. You need to test this. So we got all those things and we rolled it out. And it was not only our first time betaing, group policies. This was our first time having a beta test for anything at Cityscape Schools. So learned a lot about the value of doing things like this in incremental steps. So yeah, we rolled it out, and we let it run for about a week or two. We got a form so people could fill out. Did you notice anything different? Stuff like that, because we wanted to know this would be a big change, a big step forward in how our school district was going to operate, even if all of it was done behind the scenes. And when we didn't hear anything negative over that 2-week period, that's where we decided, you know what, it's time. Let's roll this out to the general workstations group.
Brilliant.
And I felt brilliant for about 5 minutes.
So, okay, yeah, we'll come back to that.
Put a pin in
story,
that.
Brock.
I
Brock
need
definitely got he definitely got a lot of advice. Don't do this in production. Actually, probably you should test it out first.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back to the lessons learned right after this.
Ever feel like cybersecurity is a giant jigsaw puzzle and someone forgot to give you the corner pieces?
Or the box lid, the table, or the time.
Exactly. That's where the CIS Secure Suite platform comes in.
It's your intuitive starting point for cybersecurity. One dashboard with the functionality of CIS-CAT Pro dashboard and CIS-CSAT Pro built in.
From policy to implementation, it puts the puzzle together for you. CIS controls? Check. CIS benchmarks? Double check.
And it's built for CIS Secure Suite members. You're getting a streamlined experience with the guidance that turns data into decisions.
Like seeing where your biggest risks are and knowing exactly what to do next. Share results easily with internal security teams from one great tool.
Plus, it helps you align with frameworks like NIST and ISO, making you audit ready.
Whether you're a small team or a cyber underdog, the platform gives you the visibility, clarity, and confidence to act.
So if you're ready to stop guessing and start securing, visit cisecurity.org/securesuite to learn more.
CIS Secure Suite Platform. Cybersecurity simplified.
Okay, Brock. Lessons learned. Begin.
All right.
Well, wait, we know what the happy ending is. He's still employed. So let's start from there and work backwards.
And you still want to talk to me. So something had to have gone well through all this, right?
Yes.
So lessons learned. All best laid plans may go to the wayside, no matter how well they seem to be going. And what I learned is if you're making a lot of organizational security changes and your beta group doesn't have anything to say about it, something's not right. That's what I'll say is you can't make 80 changes and one thing not go wrong. But here we are thinking, wow, this is not bad at all. Let's roll this out. I didn't start our day off rolling it out because who would do that to yourself? I waited until, mid-afternoon. And I'll never forget. We rolled it out to our machines, and I knew within 5 or 10 minutes, everyone would pick it up. And within 5 or 10 minutes, my phone started going off. And I'm like, oh no. So I answer, I'm getting texts, and it was all centered around, hey, we can't project anymore to our projectors. Hey, we can't do this to our TVs. And then I got a call, hey, we have a bunch of parents in our auditorium and our whole presentation just stopped. And I'm like, well, my heart just stopped. Everything apparently has stopped. But then in the back of my mind, I can see this page, 140 of that PDF or whatever it is. And there was this impact statement that said, this may cause Windows wireless display to stop working. And I remember we put that in the beta test group and no one said anything. So I immediately, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, let's start by, is this a duck? So I went into the policy. I referenced the PDF. I found where it was. I turned it off. I rolled it all out. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, everyone's good. Whew. Okay. All right. Parent meetings back up and running. How in the world did this get missed? Did you all know every single one of my beta users, none of them tried wirelessly displaying at all over those 2-week period, even though I picked a campus where I really thought everyone wirelessly displayed all day, every day. I picked the 2 staff members there. They like good old-fashioned HDMI, and I found that out that day.
Yep.
So all that to say is, the things that you flag as a great concern, go out of your way to test that. Don't trust the test group, all right? So
Exactly.
fortunately, nothing else really went too awry. Thankfully, everything else for the most part got to stay on. But yeah, that was my first foray into mass organizational change. Only had to roll one thing back.
That's good.
That's awesome.
I've seen it before where it's been the 800 changes. I think 799 had to be changed back, and then it's the one till we figure this out.
That tells you how hard regression testing is, right?
Yes.
Because there's so many things happening that they're not visible to you, and it's pretty hard to pick a subset. Though I'll on another episode, Sean, I'll tell you about the 2 a.m. phone call I got from a shouting general in Europe about how we had brought down all the unclassified feeds into the European theater of operation. Now, it turned out that it was because they were, whoever was feeding in, I won't name the network's news they were feeding in, but was using an unauthorized port. So our guy went over there and hey, all the authorized ports are open, the rest are closed, right? He did the right thing security-wise, but hey, well, you found a policy violation. Isn't that great? I don't think the officer thought so at the moment.
And I'm sure the general took that as, this is a positive reaction. We needed to
Exactly.
approve that port to be open. Okay, wonderful.
Exactly. So, and you also have to work across time zones sometimes. You're just like, we tested it. Well, apparently no one was running it that time that we were testing on the East Coast.
Definitely. So, Maureen, as we go through, organizations will have challenges as they approach hardening, as they look at the results. Do I want to be IG 1, 2, and 3? Just one? How do we, or how do you conceptualize the approach, the journey? And I think Tony put it very well. This is not a destination. This is a journey we're all on together. And this changes over time. How do you react to that, and what advice then do you provide to members?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, everything starts with the results, of course. And as I said, it can be overwhelming. And so my encouragement to them is really just start small. Like any improvement is good improvement. So even if you're gonna take section 1 of the benchmark and say, hey, I have this amount of time, I'm gonna work on this like in the next month or something. And my goal is to set a small goal because it is overwhelming. And that is, some of the advice I gave to Brock. However, I think after he kind of got through it, he was just kind of like, well, I should have just done it all and from the beginning. But not everyone feels like that, and he certainly didn't at first. So he needed that confidence to kind of go forward and make some quick wins, as you said. And that gives you the confidence. Once you get there, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad. I feel good about this. Whereas if you bit off the whole thing all at once, you'd be like, oh, I'll never get this done. I'll never finish this. And so I think my best advice, especially for someone just starting, is take a small piece. If it's section 1 in the benchmark, do that. If it's IG 1, do that. But anything that you do to make it better is getting you to a better place and increasing your score, which is that measurable way that you can measure yourself against. And of course, not everyone can be 100% when it comes to that benchmark.
Right.
We know that. Brock has certainly figured that out
I have.
the hard way.
Yes.
Um, but you need to know, like, you'll get to a better place.
Yeah, I mean, that's such good advice because again, we tend to think of security as an all or nothing, right? You're secure or you're not, and that's clearly the wrong way to think of it. So and Brock, you mentioned earlier, right? We can't ignore I'll call it the psychological or the boss component, right? You need quick wins. You need to show progress. You want to show that security can be uh, responsibly added in a way that doesn't disrupt the mission that you're trying to execute here. Actually, and back in was it version 5 and 6? I don't know if you remember, Sean, the earlier versions of the controls. This isn't quite the equivalent, but we had a subsection of the individual safeguards that we called the quick wins. And it was specifically to recognize that said, because people told me, said, look, I love what you're doing, but if I don't show some progress in 60 days, my boss has a really short attention span. I'll be out of a job. Okay, so we need to, but you don't want to throw those first steps away, right? Just you don't want to do something to do. And so, the intention of the IG1, 2, and 3 is you do that first set. You don't have to throw anything away to move on. You've already started the foundation of defense, and you're just building upon that. And you could decide kind of how much should I add, how much can the organization tolerate, right? What things have to run, what things do I have to manage the security around. So I think you really got the spirit of it. So, and I'm sure you appreciated having a calm guide like Maureen to take you through those first steps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I wanted to ask you, Brock, and we'll kind of finish around here, but this is the one piece of advice, either those in K through 12 or in small to medium sized businesses about now I've got to start. Now, I understand there's, the baseline, the hardening, probably learning more than you ever wanted to know about the underlying controls within Microsoft infrastructure. But where do you think they should start, and what type of timeline would you give them to go from initial action of realizing they need to start to something actionable that they can show as a positive influence on the security of their underlying infrastructure?
I know, I know for us, being a smaller charter school, in the Texas area, we I was really hoping to have some measure of impact within about a month. That was my goal. I didn't know if that was too long or if that was too short. I had not done something like this before, so I felt like, well, 30 days is a good place to start. It's something, right? And so everything I did with working with Maureen, working with my internal team member, was let's have something that we can at least test within a month and see what's going on. And we were able to achieve that. I've gotten to sit down now with a couple of different IT directors in the Dallas area working for schools, just one-on-one. We'll do Teams meetings, and they all get stopped at the same point. Is they run the assessor, they see the report, and it's the paralyzing of the report. And so my suggestion is uh, whatever format best works for you. Some people love spreadsheets, some people love PDF, some people love paper. Make it as easier for you as possible. I mean, uh, read it in however format best helps you understand. That's what me and my team member did. We'd done things like this, but not things just like this. And so we went about it the same way, how we would analyze other information. And that's what I walk them through is, okay, well, let's look at the report together and tell me what you see. And just having somebody with them, even for a few minutes, to get the ball rolling, it like when I had it with Maureen, that kind of took the air out of the whole thing. It was like, oh, that's what you do. That's not so bad. You mark your sheet up. You can take things out that aren't necessary for your organization. It's your document. You can do whatever you want with it. But if you can shoot for that 30 days to at least have gone through, whether it's IG1 or like what Maureen said, if your organization's larger, maybe you can only take it one section at a time. Set that time frame because it really is doable. It'll take a few hours the first go around. But what was nice for me and my team member is once we got through this initial uh, uh, workstation approach, not starting with servers. We saw outside of that one hiccup, this wasn't too bad. We couldn't wait to actually get started on our member servers and then our domain controllers, and really getting that first foot in the door, getting your feet wet and seeing the possibilities and what you might have missed. That really helped us along the way.
That's great. And I think, Tony, Maureen, as we reflect on this from CIS, really, it's so good to see a journey, one documented. I mean, we've got the blog post that you and Maureen had put together, Brock, the formalizing K through 12 cybersecurity policies in less time. And I just want to recommend that of our audience listening to this that want to start their journey, or in the journey maybe got stopped, or there was, it's too much to address. I think demonstrating that journey, how it is tangible. It's about the small incremental wins versus, let's change the entire infrastructure in an afternoon. That is a very powerful lesson, and something that we obviously appreciate, that one, our tools and respectfully thought leadership can help transform organizations to that hardened, more secure posture and better protected against those external threats. I don't know what you think about that, Tony, but want to get your thoughts there.
No, I think this it's the this sort of holistic look at security, right? Not it's easy to get hung up with the technical part, but recognize again the psychology part of it. The how do I keep the users, happy? Part of this, you're developing now kind of a rhythm of this, right? That they sort of expect this, right? Okay, security is not some terrible thing that I'm fighting against. It's something that we're managing, and you're trying to respect the need of the users to be able to use wireless, for example, and or what is it that balances the operational management, right? The mission of the school that you're working with the need to protect the information of the of the institution, but also of the participants in it. And I think it's a really healthy way to think of the whole problem here. So people get mired in the gigantic lists, right? In the technical issues and the subtleties of group policies and so on. But at the end of the day, you're running an institution that has to, that is to succeed, right? And you're there to help them succeed. And you're not going to build perfect security. You're going to help them manage the risk intelligently. So, and I think there are lessons for us, Sean, in terms of, recognizing, we have tried to over the years, right? Recognizing that this is not an all or nothing a problem, that we can take lessons learned from folks like Brock, and this is, natural to Maureen to take the lessons and help the next person, right? And now you're helping other people in the state or in other school systems to say, you know what, you can do this, and you can do something in 30 days that is in the right direction, that there's a roadmap to, and so forth. So I think we're always open, by the way, Brock. When I was working the controls with a very, very small team, people ask me, what's your strategic plan? I said, I don't know. What problems do you need solved? That's my strategic plan, right? So you look to us to say, Tony, CIS, Maureen, we need more tools to help convince some of the executives about why this is important. What do you have? What could you produce for us? We'd be happy to do that, right? We can look into that problem for you. Hey, I'm dealing with a bunch of my peers. Are there some materials that you either have or could produce that would help me create like an affinity group or a working group or a group of interest to help other school systems? Yeah, let's, if we don't have it, that's a great idea. We could work that kind of thing for you. So never hesitate, give us feedback. So this is part of, you figured one thing out, Brock. We're not some gigantic DC think tank. We're not some distant research organization, right? It's Maureen, it's John. And so you can reach to anybody in CIS, and we're here to work the problems that you face.
And that's one thing, if it's okay if I add,
Please.
It always, blows all the IT directors' minds whenever I get to talk with them. I'm like, as a K-12 entity, we're SLTT. This is available at no cost to you. If you want a no cost, immediate value add impact, start here. The only cost is a little bit of your time, which we all seem to never have enough of. And when we're trying to measure things, most things cost time and will have a financial cost to it. Here, you can dedicate a little bit of your time to it and see an immediate value add to your organization. And that's where the phones come out when I show them that part of your website, how to register as a school. It's no cost. And they're like, oh my goodness, this is no cost to us. Absolutely. Get going today. So I love seeing people's faces when they realize that they can start doing this right now.
Super. Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, Maureen, Brock, that brings us to the end of part 2. I'm kind of feeling there's a part 3. I'll leave that up to the powers that be. But again, thank you very much. And Brock, your dedication and all the great work and evangelization of what we're trying to do for others like yourself, and Maureen for your leadership. Absolutely brilliant. So thank you both. Thank you, Tony, as always. Great to chat with you and get your thoughts in this space. And thank you to our audience. Again, questions, comments, concerns, podcast@cisecurity.org. Remember to subscribe in all the usual ways with your preferred podcast provider. Catch us on YouTube at the CI Security. And join us every Wednesday for episodes like this and much, much more. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the podcast today.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by our podcast guests are solely theirs and do not necessarily reflect those of CIS.
Tune in on Wednesdays for a new episode. And in the meantime, visit our website at CIS-CAT.org.
Together, we'll continue our efforts of creating confidence in the connected world.